All right. So, how are you doing today, family community? Today, I have yet another guest for you. Yes, I do. Well, kind of for me too, because I'm receiving a little more in-depth look on the gem born in Far Rockaway, Queens, New York, of Liberian parentage. She also has cultural connections throughout the Black African diaspora. Growing up, she always took the pleasure in writing. She enjoys history, particularly African and African diaspora studies. Her focus is social justice, advocacy, natural hair, and self care. She holds a master's degree in social sciences. Most importantly, she is a mother, wife, daughter, and sister. She's a gem from my Facebook group as well, Caribbean female writers promoting their books or scripts. Saye Carrie has written two books, Hidden Commonalities, Identifying Cultural Similarities Among Africans and African Descendants, and also Unraveling the Story of Black African Here. Without further ado, let's welcome Mrs. Saye Carrie. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
How
you
are
so
you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well, Andrea, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for accepting the invitation. You know, I'm going to start with the hardest question that I
Yes,
get most of the time when I'm interviewed. And
yes.
that's, how do you juggle being an author, motherhood, work, and the list continues? When and where do you fit in writing?
Um, so regarding me doing writing while I'm juggling all those different things, I try to get a little bit of time, probably like during the weekend. But to be honest, sometimes it can be a struggle. But whenever something comes to my mind, my imagination, I'll take a notepad or a copybook and just write whatever my thoughts are, whatever topic I would like to write about.
Okay, okay, I hear that. Journaling, jotting down, all important. So tell us a bit more about who Say Carrie is and what are your hobbies outside of writing?
Outside of writing, I enjoy traveling with my family. So every year, once a year or twice a year, we do travel. So we take the children and we will travel to certain places during the Thanksgiving holiday. We did go to Orlando, and we spent Thanksgiving there. And we went to Busch Gardens and we took the children
Oh,
there.
nice.
And then over the summer, my husband and I traveled to Mexico.
Nice.
So usually we'll take some time around our anniversary time and just travel somewhere out of the country, more so, or anywhere within the United States, and we'll have our time together. And then later on, we'll take the children and we'll go around somewhere.
I like that. It's good to have some me time. It's good to have some family time. So that's great.
Mhm.
On, definitely great.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on. When did you first start to write, and what are all the things you needed, like tools and mood setting that puts you in the good mood to motivate you to write?
So I discovered my gift of writing in elementary school and primary school, where our the second grade teacher, we had to do a play. So each
Okay.
students had to write a play, and it was my play that I wrote about was about a girl trying to try out for baseball or softball. From
Okay.
that's been so that was almost 30 years ago,
Okay.
and she how like someone was a young boy was teasing her saying that she can't play, but then she ended up playing and ended up scoring and her team ended up winning. So that was a form of a play. So that's when I discovered that I do have a gift of writing. and also to fast forward into my preteen years, my teenage years, young adult years, I would do a lot of journaling. I will write some blogs sometimes and so forth. Also, I remember back in 2019, I wrote they were doing, CNN was doing a CNN report, and it was called Being Black in America. So I wrote something about my experience and my different cultural identities and being born and raised in the United States and how that impacted how I am as an individual. And so when the whole actual publication started, I started writing in 2015, and I had everything together. And then when we moved from New Jersey and when we came down to North Carolina, my husband found this publication company on a radio, and then he shared the information with me, and I reached out to the book publisher. So then 2017 was my first time writing. So I think the only issue, like I already knew that I wanted to write. The issue was how can I publish this and so forth. And like I didn't want to be and do a traditional route, but I wanted to be an independent route at the same time, where I just maybe pay for the assistants, pay for them to edit the book, how to, like, the cover will go, the design and whatnot, and then like whatever profits I receive, it goes to me. So luckily I found a more independent publishing company where you will pay, you have to pay a fee for it to be published, edited, and so forth. But when it comes to like the profits, it goes to you.
Okay, you just answered another one of my questions, but that's okay. That's okay. This is knowledge for the beginning writers, and this is good stuff. I'm going to ask you to share a little bit more of that process in a little while of what you did, your steps, so that it can help another individual who's now starting out or who might have missed some steps, or this might be another route that they can take. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're going to dive right into the nitty gritty of the stuff. But just before we do that, I'm going to ask you to, guys, you audience out there, you viewers, to do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button, hit that share, like, and definitely at the end, comment, because I love to hear from you. So let's dive right in with Carrie's book. I have Hidden Commonalities. So I had the privilege of looking at one of your books in depth, in Hidden Commonalities, a while back now. It was quite an interesting read. I liked it, and it did hit close to home with some interests and similarities with so many thoughts in the book when it came to uniting different cultures, primarily Caribbean and African cultures, as I am from the Caribbean, stories about food and music and so much more that helps to unite the cultures. I remember feeling such a sense of pride and strength and a part of when I read the quote written by Kwame Nkrumah, the first Black president of Ghana. I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Ah, I love it. I love it. But I'm going to be quiet right now because I want you to share with us what inspired such a book as this, and tell us what Hidden Commonalities means to you and what it's about, without giving away too many treasures for those who want to go out there and grab the book, of course.
Yes, so I was born in Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, as well as Pocono Mountain, Pennsylvania. So I lived in the Northeast all my life. I also spent some time in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I lived in the South for some time as well. I'm back in the South now since 2016. So growing up, I grew up around different cultural backgrounds. I grew up around different types of Black people. Everyone, not just Black, but all races, ethnicities. But primarily so, around different Black people of different cultural backgrounds, and I explained the cultural backgrounds. The many type of Blacks that I grew up around were African American, were Caribbean, African Caribbean, those who were directly from Africa, and other person who considers themselves of Black African descent. And I know at times there were conflicts that would go on between these groups of people. And what I know now they call it the African Diasporan Wars or African Diaspora conflict, where sometimes some groups feel like this group looks down at me or this other group looks down at me. And some of that is based off of slavery, colonialism, misinformation from the media. For instance, some people feel like African Americans get looked down by people directly from Africa or people from the Caribbean or Latin America. And at the same time, people feel that African Americans look down at people directly from Africa or people from the Caribbean or Latin America. So then there's just it's just what it is a divide and conquer strategy as a result of colonialism, slavery, misinformation from the media, even miseducation at times. And growing up, I observe some of those things sometimes, and I will say I thank my parents for giving us an open mind and being aware, and also based on our history, being originally my parents and grandparents were born in Liberia, West Africa. And that, and then that's another subject, the history of Liberia and so forth, where there are 16 indigenous ethnic groups, and I come from three of those indigenous ethnic groups: the Bassa, Kron, Loma. I'm also a descendant of those the people who came from the Barbados, and they settled in a town called Croseville. I'm also a descendant of the African Americans who came from the Gullah Geechee people of Low Country, South Carolina. They also settled in Liberia, as well in Carisburg, those areas, the settlement like Carisburg, Croseville, Harrisburg, even Monrovia. So then I have all these different kinds of ethnicities running through my vein. And I came from a household where my parents, they appreciated all of their cultures, they appreciated Blackness. I know when you're coming from a multiple with a majority Black country, you just see yourself as your nationality, or you see yourself as your ethnicity or your tribe or whatnot. But growing up, they embrace that Blackness or whatnot, and embrace they embrace the different cultural groups within the continent and within the diaspora. They will say, oh, that's our cousins, that's the Africans across the sea, and so forth. And growing up seeing those challenges of people, those groups fighting, it kind of made me upset, because I knew that, in order for us to have a little bit more of a solidarity, because I looked to the likes of Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, who had those mindsets where we have to look beyond what the media, what slavery, what colonialism has done, and see that we all have some type of connection. We may come from different tree branches, however, we share the same roots of the tree, which is Mama Africa. I know we're not completely the same, but the root, we do share the root, which is Mama Africa. So seeing, I'll give an example. When I lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, there were Haitians versus African Americans. And I said to myself, I'm not joining, although I'm not Haitian, I have some connection to African Americans, but I have also some type of Caribbean connection, but I'm not joining these conflicts, because, and I tried to tell my friends, I said, the people that were doing, I said, they see us all as Black people. And this whole division, we all connect from the same way. And for example, with Haitians, there were Haitians who fought in the Revolutionary War. And with Haiti is, regardless of what they will say in the media about Haiti is very rich. Haiti was the first Black country to gain its independence, the first Black free country in the world. And despite all the chaos that's going, all the cons about Haiti or whatnot, Haiti has a very rich history, and Haiti is that model country for all those countries to gain its independence throughout Latin America and even in the continent of Africa. And with that going and then to fast forward, earlier I had mentioned the CNN report regarding being Black in America. I wrote an article, just my experience being for this time period, a first generation Liberian American or African American, and then how that was trying to fit in both sides. Sometimes like one side, oh, you're not Liberian, you're not African, you just American. Or the West Indian side, oh, you a Yankee baby. Or maybe the African American, the African American or the American side, oh, you're what, are you Caribbean, are you African or whatnot. So but then I realized, I embrace all three because that is a part of me. And when I would tell my parents about these things, or how people would make me feel, they say embrace who you are and be proud of who you are. And my parents never made me feel like, oh, you should pick a side. You should pick a side, or you're less of this and less of that. They said be proud of being Liberian, be proud of that Bayesian connection, be proud of that Gullah Geechee connection as well. So then finally, when 2015 came, I said, let me write a book called Hidden Commonalities, which will connect and show how each groups of people are connected. And for example, I discussed food. I talked about jollof rice, which is a West African delicacy or whatnot. I know it was founded by the Wolof ethnic group of Senegal, and it travel to other parts of West Africa. So every West African country have their style of cooking jollof rice. And I know there's even these competitions of who can make the best jollof rice and so forth. So I'll just leave it at there. And I will say Liberian people can make good jollof rice or whatnot. And then there have other countries who can make their jollof rice that is very great, that was very good as well. But then at the same time, when you look at jollof rice and you look at the dish jambalaya, which is from Louisiana, that is basically a descendant of jollof rice, including the Gullah Geechee Gullah red rice from the Low Country areas of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. That's an African influence as well. Even when you look at fufu, that African dish, and fufu, West African fufu, and ugali from East Africa, it's similar to Bayesian kuku and flying fish, similar to the in Grenada, the fungi, even in Puerto Rico with the mofongo, Haiti, the tom tom. And I just recently learned that there are some areas in Haiti where they still call it fufu. Cuba, platano de fufu, or whatnot. So there's still a connection to these dishes. Like that's how we are connected through the dishes. Like although unfortunately a lot people have been separated for hundreds and hundreds of years from Africa, but it still remained in them, that mindset or the way how they cooked. They will, although like certain, depending on where your ancestor was brought, they'll have to make do with whatever the food that was there. I know maybe being here in North America, there's certain crops that weren't grown as compared to the Caribbean or Latin America, where it's a little bit more tropical, where you can find those dishes there. So that's an example of like how I'm showing the commonalities or whatnot.
You're answering every question I have for you. You're making my job very, very easy today. But that is so true. You can definitely find so much of these similar foods that they have done in Africa, and they originated there in the Caribbean, in the South, and in so many foods here. I've seen that too. So yes, definitely, definitely. I love that you wrote that, and I definitely have that on my mind when I think of your book. Okay, so how long did it take you to write this book? And were there any challenges that arose while you wrote?
Um, I started in 2015, and I paused a little bit when we were transitioning from New Jersey to North Carolina. So I did
Mhm.
pause a little bit, but then once I found the publisher, I just started back and just kept writing, and doing my research. Like I know with also writing this book, I had to do research and so forth, and look and get sources. So I just kept writing. So I will say it took about a year and a half to work on.
Okay. And was it challenging for you?
Um, I guess maybe when we were trying to transition to North Carolina, I had to stop and like focusing on
Mhm.
moving and then focusing on trying to get in, trying to finish up my master's, trying to transfer and working on completing my master's degree. So that was the challenge and so forth. So sometimes I have to pause because I have to focus on my schooling first. Like although I love to write and whatnot, writing has, you know, its importance, but at my schooling comes first. Make sure I'm not behind in my schoolwork and make the grades, the good grades that I'm supposed to make.
Right, definitely. And so you have. So, with this book, Hidden Commonalities, where did the title arise?
Um, so with hidden commonalities,
Mhm.
the book the name came arise because the again that connection of the African continent and throughout the diaspora is hidden because not people don't realize how interconnected we are. And when you do your research, when you do your studies, then you realize um when you realize that it's actually we do have a common now we do have a connection, but unfortunately when you go to sometimes when you go to school you don't really know because they don't the studies, the history that they provide is very vague, and it's the same cliche history, and they don't go in depth to how, you know, don't go in depth. You have to do your own research. I think for me, going to the different festivals and so forth, I'm going to Juneteenth, going to the Labor Day parade in New York, and so forth, and then having that direct African connection. And then when I'm into the different cultures within the diaspora, I'm like, hey, I was like, I eat this at home or whatnot. It might be cooked differently. For instance, there's Liberian style collard greens, and the collard greens, the freed African Americans who repatriated to Africa and settled in Liberia, they came with their ideal of cooking collard greens, and then the indigenous people, you know, came and they created their styles of collard greens. Hey, breadfruit that in Crocerville, that was brought over to Crocerville, and then you have your breadfruit, you have your style of cooking saltfish stew with cassava and what else yeah, was with cassava and so forth, and even callaloo. And then I'm talking about the green, not the okra callaloo for my Haitian people, but like the actual greens callaloo or whatnot. And in Liberia that's called careless greens. So I was like, what they're eating, we're eating that as well. We just calling it a different name, or maybe it's cooked a different way. Even we have our ginger drink, we have our ginger beer or whatnot.
I love it. I love it. Definitely. You see all the similarities just with a different name. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love your personal quote, never suppress who you are because we are all created in a distinctive way. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit more about that when you were thinking that quote. What were you also thinking other than what you just told us?
You know, I learned that God blesses us with a purpose, and God blesses us all in a unique way. So sometimes the way how you may come across as something, people may not understand your journey. People may not understand who you are or whatnot. And sometimes people can be misunderstood. It's not like you aren't a bad person. It's just that you might be around people who might feel uncomfortable with themselves. So when they're seeing you shining in a certain way, that or maybe discovering a purpose that God has blessed you with, they may not understand because they probably have not made it to that journey yet, or maybe they're not secure with themselves. So then there's like, oh, what's going on with this person? Why are they in this way? But it's not about it's don't feel bad, because again, whatever your calling is, that's between you and God or whatnot. So it's not for them to understand. It's for you to understand, and for you to go and execute that purpose. So that's how that quote came about.
Love it. Love it. You hear that? You hear that, audience? Okay, so what are some of the Liberian cultural similarities that you've experienced growing up that are somewhat similar to the Liberians from the United States?
To the for America. So in
Mhm,
certain the cooking styles and so forth, for example,
mhm,
cornbread, making cornbread, Liberians bake cornbread. Again, that collard greens dish.
Mm-hmm.
the baking shortbread. So a lot of those baking dishes, like cornbread, shortbread, that came from the American South. So the soul food dishes and so forth. There's another dish called banana rice bread, and that I would say that that is more so traditional or more so indigenous Liberian, where you can use so you can use sweet plantain to make it, or you can use grounded rice. I know back home in Liberia they'll use it that way, and then the ingredients to make the banana rice. But here in the States, you can use regular ripe bananas, cream of rice cereal, and then bake the banana rice bread. And so if I use whatever ingredients, so it depends on where you are, your area. Use like usually traditionally, especially like maybe like back in Liberia, you'll use the sweet plantain, or you use the grounded up rice that you grind up in a mortar. And in here in America, you probably, or anywhere outside of the
Mm-hmm.
diaspora, you overseas, you'll use like the cream of rice, and then like just the regular bananas. So like
Okay.
yes,
Sounds like you love to cook too.
yes, I enjoy cooking. So that, and flour gravy, that's another or like a lot of gravies and so forth. And of course we have our indigenous foods, for example, palm butter. And so that's
Mhm.
from the southeast, like from the southeast region of Liberia. There's a tabagi, that's from the northwest, that's those who come from the Loma Kisi ethnic group. We have the potato greens, which is so you know the sweet potatoes. That's the roots from the sweet potatoes that we will eat. We can eat sweet potatoes. We eat sweet potatoes as well, but the potato leaves come like from the sweet potato roots, and we just eat the leaves. And then you can cook it like spinach, similar. And there's a jute leaf that called plava sauce is a jute leaf, and of course the fufu and the other like rice and starches. And we have a lot of greens like the collard greens, potato greens, as I just mentioned.
Okay, okay. So do you cook a lot of that in your family now as well?
So it's a mixture of things that we cook. My
Mhm.
husband, he's originally from Haiti, so I've
Okay.
learned how to make some Haitian dishes, some Haitian spaghetti. I've learned how to
Mm.
make John, the black rice.
Okay.
I've learned how to make legume eggplant. But again, the Haitian food is kind of similar to Liberian food a little bit. So certain foods that they cook,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
it's the same dish, but it's like cooked differently or whatnot. It's the same thing, but just cook it a different way. For example, with the legume,
Mhm.
you'll with the Haitian legume, you'll cook it with eggplant, cabbage, carrots, different kind of vegetables, because legume means vegetable. On the other
Right.
hand, with the Liberian style eggplant, we just use eggplant, just call it eggplant stew, and you just use. Some people will probably put carrots in it, but you just cook it with eggplant, and of course you add your meats and so forth, and you'll season it. And I know my husband, he enjoys palm butter, so I'll make that a lot for him.
Okay.
And of course plantain, the fried green plantain, the banana pezi, the fried green plantain. And I know in the Spanish speaking countries like tostones and so forth, and the sweet plantain we'll eat. And the lalo, that's a tasty dish, which is jute leaves, and it transfers to jute leaves. And then there's a way to cook that. And in
Mhm.
Liberia we have our plava sauce, which is also jute leaves, and we have our way to cooking that as well. And then the fried fish and the gravy with the shrimp, and then the boiled cassava or the saltfish and stuff, which I enjoy as well. And the
Right.
breadfruit.
I love the sweet plantain. I love breadfruit cuckoo. Yes. Yes, definitely. Okay, that's great. I love the food. As you see, I stopped by that a little bit longer. I love the food aspect of it. Okay, well, you know what? Take this time out to share a little about your second book, Unraveling the Story of Black African Here. Let's hear just a little about that as well.
So that book was published in 2021, and that it was inspired by a paper that I wrote in undergrad when I was in college. And when I was finishing up with my undergrad, we had a senior seminar, and it was like I think it was like a business class. And I had wrote a paper regarding the commodification of Black African
Mhm.
hair. So then I used so then that inspired me. And then at my job where I worked at the library, we had a dedication of different hair, black, they had a showcase of different black hair and stuff. So then that inspired me as well to write Unraveling, the story of Black African hair. So for me, I had ups and downs with my hair or whatnot. And at a young age, my hair was relaxed and so forth. And then I had issues where my hair would break off because the relaxer wasn't agreeing to my hair. And then when I was at the age of 19, 20, um, I stopped relaxing my hair and I wanted to return natural. And then keep in mind, around that time, 2009, 2010, people were becoming more confident, and there was this movement, this natural hair movement that was coming together. And then there was YouTube, where there were a lot of ladies on YouTube returning natural and so forth, and then like trying different products. So then I look at the ladies returning natural, so that it inspired me. And I think more so with this movement, it was trying to obtain healthy hair. When I know hair is health, all hair can be healthy hair regardless of condition of it, but it was more so like they wanted better hair health, or the relaxer wasn't agreeing with their hair, so they wanted to try this natural hair journey and so forth. And people were becoming confident, like, you know, my hair is beautiful and natural. It doesn't have to be straight whatnot. And I know back in the 60s and the 70s,
Mhm.
during the Black Power movement, people were wearing their hair in their natural, in the Afro form. But all in all, it still turns to become a political statement anyhow. So that inspired me. And then I wanted to tell people, boys and girls, about my hair journey, how like I didn't like how it shrunk up. I didn't embrace it. I was ashamed of it. But then I realized, like, no, let me try this natural hair movement. And I don't regret it. I'm still natural or whatnot. But sometimes I will put my hair in braiding extensions. Right now I have my hair in a goddess braids, and I would do my twist outs and whatnot. Very occasionally I will flat iron it, and so forth. But I'm loving the journey, the natural hair journey. But whatever you do with your hair, just it doesn't matter. The hair came from our African foremothers, going back to Africa, where hair was seen as, was important. It represented your status symbol, like your marital status, if you're unmarried, what ethnic group you came from, what your position was. And, as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, um, during that treacherous route and that horrendous route, their hair was shaved off. And then that was to that was where, to cut off that connection, that African connection, or cut off to show that your hair it's bad, and it's not bad. It is not bad. And also, people have to realize, no matter the texture of your hair, good hair is healthy hair. I also talk about like the commodification of hair, how hair is a big business, especially like Black women trying to do different things with their hair, Black women and girls trying to do things with their hair, and they have the natural hair products and so forth. And at the end, you do what makes you feel comfortable or whatnot, with your hair, regardless.
I love it. I love it. And I love your hair. It's beautiful.
You.
It's beautiful. All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. And I'm going to have to ask you to probably give us some more information on the publishing. I'll put in the detail box. So we'll wrap it up here by me asking you, lastly, Lee, what valuable message do you have for our beginning authors? And why should people or viewers choose your books?
Yeah, so regarding like the publication of a book, um there's different ways to do it now. It's 2024, about to be 2025. You can work with a publishing company. That's up to you if you need help. And then, of course, again, with the independent publishing company, they will just charge you to like just to edit and publish the book, or like the illustrations. And of course, now, like, I think there's different services like Amazon, where you can go and just do it yourself or whatnot, and not worrying about having to charge anyone to do it. And of course, just make sure you edit, make sure it's edited correctly and so forth. And when you're starting writing, just go ahead and write anything that comes to mind. Just write. whether it be notepad, or if you use, for me, I start off with a notepad and I'll just write anything, and then later on I will just type it up on the computer. Or if you want to use the computer, you can go ahead and do that. But for me, I find it that I have to like brainstorm, and like if I'm thinking of something, I think it's, for me, it's better for me to write it on a notebook paper or a notepad to get the idea, and then later on, then I will transfer everything. I'll write it, or like a few chapters, then I will go ahead and start typing everything or whatnot.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so please share your books with us again and where they can be found so that anyone who wishes to add them to their libraries or go out there and grab them for their last minute holiday gift idea, share with us where we can find them.
Yes, so here are my two books. I'll just start with one. So my first book, Hidden Commonalities, Identifying the Cultural Similarities Among Africans and African Descendants. So that is available at www.sayecarrie.com, as well as major booksellers, so you can find it on Amazon. And then my second book, Unraveling the Story of Black African Hair, you can find that at www.sayecarrie.com, as well as major booksellers such as Amazon.
Beautiful, beautiful. You hear it, audience. You hear it, with lots of history and expert knowledge and books that definitely will encourage you. It will inform you, and definitely a beautiful, cultural, diverse book that you should not walk, but run and grab your copy for your library, for your holiday gifts, to share with your family and your friends. It was such a wonderful privilege having you on today. Thank you so much for taking your time out to share this information with your works of art, your beautiful books. Hopefully, you will be back here on the platform again with us to share some more history. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Please definitely remember to click, subscribe, and share. I love to hear from you. Thank you once again. Do have a blessed day.